Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Vialet Rayne, and today my guest is Tara from the Carolinas. Now, just so that you guys know, the last four people that I have interviewed, she's the fourth one, have all been from the Carolinas. I don't know what's going on, but if you live in the Carolina area, you should be able to connect to a lot of these people because they are all on the East Coast where I am in Denver. But Tara is an alternative healing practitioner specializing in the quantum healing hypnosis, or QHHT, quantum healing, and past life regressions. She's always known deep down that our bodies were meant to be functioning at 100% and that they could heal themselves. Her work shows us that illness, disease are the ways in which our body speaks to us. Tara's goal is to help guide people to stop seeking outside of themselves and to go within to find their answers and assess to healing. She is an eclectic approach to her practices, which enables her to help people in many different backgrounds and ideologies. So, welcome to the show. I'm so excited. We've been having fun talking before we even hit record. So, this should be really good.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I love that. I love that. So, one of the things I love to ask guests is, how did you get to this point of being even interested in doing this type of work? So what led you down this path?
Yeah, so I was always kind of a little bit of an outside of the box thinker, growing up as a teenager, like I was playing with tarot cards and candles and crystals and things like that. But I really fell away from all of it. And in my 20s, and just life kind of got in the way. And when I was about 36 years old, I was working in a corporate environment, managing veterinary hospitals, and I actually had to have surgery. I had a very, very tiny hernia, and that needed to be repaired. But so it was after the surgery, when I was recovering, when I was kind of waking up from the anesthesia, I really felt as though the only way to explain it is that I could hear my soul kind of reaching out and talking to me. And I just had this kind of crazy realization that I had been ignoring a very large part of myself for a very, very long time. And it was that surgery. And then, all the things that happened from there, they just kind of snowballed on top of each other, and reading books and finding people on YouTube. And it just really opened my eyes to a very different way of looking at life, living life, and really brought me back to what I would say my roots, but just that other side of things, the other way to look at things that really felt so much better and just changed my life for the better, and felt so much more aligned with who I really am.
I love that, because you talk about searching within versus looking externally for everything. And I think the majority of individuals living today are looking for joy and happiness outside of themselves. They're looking to find that place outside of who they are versus looking within. And they keep searching for that satisfaction. I know for me as an executive, that you were raised to go to school, work really hard, climb that corporate ladder. Titles were important, salary was important, your size of your house and your car was important. And I did all those things to find myself very dissatisfied, very lonely, very disconnected. And you reach those great moments where you've done all that and you're like, what's this about? Like, this is
Right.
crazy, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
because most people are looking out here for all that, when it really, your truth of who you are is inside. So I love that. you do a modality that I am very familiar with. And so because I'm an Akashic record reader, I go into past lives because past lives are so important in this life. So most people would say, why do I need to know what I did in a past life? Why do I care what I did? I should be focusing on this life. So share with us why past lives can be so helpful for our life today.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. So it's just like the things that we experience in our life now, from when we were a child, teenager, adolescent, adult, whatever, like those things stay with you. They shape your view of what's going on. They shape your perspective. They, how you're kind of programmed. All of those things, they just add up and they stay with you. And what we don't always realize is it's the same thing with the past lives. Those lives that we have lived, they stay with you. You are the way you are today because of the things that you've experienced in those past lives, in those tragedies, traumas, beautiful, wonderful lives, all of those things, they shape who you are today, and they affect what you are trying to learn, what you are trying to work through. Even for some people, the karma that you've kind of accumulated in those lives can be worked out through this lifetime. So there's really so many things that are unconsciously and unknowingly affecting you. And that's why I find working with past lives so powerful, because a lot of times I feel like clients feel like I've done everything in this life that I could work through, right? I've let go of childhood this, I've let go of this past relationship, I've let go of this narcissist, and they're still struggling with things because there are things that they've done in past lives and they're just unaware of it. So when we uncover it, as I'm sure it immediately starts to change their experience of it. Just the awareness of it can really have a huge impact on how they see what's happening in their life, how they kind of then start to maneuver through the same things that they were going through before with different eyes.
I totally agree with you. And what people don't realize is a lot of people come to me for an Akashic reading. And when they're thinking past lives, they want to know, well, was I a king or a queen? Did I hold this position or that? Who cares? Right? That's so minute compared to what you can get in your past lives. Because if you understand you get stuck in cycles, if you understand, hey, I'm blocked, I can't seem to move past this. Hey, I have these fears. Hey, I have this fear of falling. Hey, I have this fear. I have this pain. What you will be surprised is many times those things are connected to an experience that you've had in a past life. And if you can heal that, that's the key. If you go back to that time and heal that and release that and let that go, that ripples through to this lifetime to where you're free to move through. So I have this funny belief. I believe that if you have allergies or you're allergic to something, I think it's connected to a past life. So think about this. You worked a peanut farm for most of your life because your family did something with peanuts. And at some point in that lifetime, you went, if I don't ever see another peanut again, I'll be so happy. I don't ever want to deal with another peanut again. I don't ever want to have this life. Do you understand how that belief system gets imprinted on your soul? And then as you move through lifetimes and you're being exposed to peanuts, what's your body going to do?
Absolutely.
Right?
And
So when I
sorry.
I love that when people are like, really, Violet? And I'm like, think about it. Right?
Yes, I was going to say absolutely. That has come through multiple times in QHHT sessions. Dolores Cannon talked about that all the time. These are things that, yes, you are carrying them with you. These kind of vows or statements that you make to the universe have an effect on you, and they stick with you. And I mean, just like you said, uncovering that and healing it in that time, it does ripple out because it gives you this understanding of why did you say that? Why was that affecting you in such a way? And then it allows you to heal it. And it does ripple out, just like when we do inner child work and things like that. It ripples out because time is, not linear. So it's all happening. So it's all changing in the moment.
Right, absolutely. And energetically, we're changing. So if you think about financial money blocks, they're definitely most of the time tied to a past life, tied to something that you've said, that you've thought about with this excitement, passion, sorrow, anger, because those are powerful emotions. We don't understand the fact that when you say something very impact emotionally with your heart and your mind, you have now created it. Now, when it comes in, that's a whole other story, but you've told the universe that's what you want. And sometimes when we're angry, all of us have said things that we really didn't mean. We were just emotionally upset at that time. And we made this declaration, this statement with all this emotion. The universe is always saying yes. And they go, stamp approved, send it out. It's coming back in, stamp approved. And so you have to be careful what you're saying, what you're declaring. But think about it. You've done that in so many lifetimes. So what have you put out there that you want to clear and heal? Because maybe that's not true. Maybe that isn't your truth. And it's so powerful when you can clear. Now, here's another layer that you may not be thinking about that I truly believe. I believe everyone on the planet today not only came to heal their stuff, but their families, their ancestors, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So even that person that says, I've done all my healing in this lifetime, you're not done. You're not done. The universe that you're here to clear not only your baggage, but mamas and dads and grandpas and grandmas. And so the more of that you clear, the less your children and grandchildren are going to experience, because you have loosened the baggage a little bit, because we carry not only our stuff, but everybody else's a little bit too through these lifetimes. And it's never ending, right? Those triggers, those emotional, like, why am I upset? Have you ever had somebody say something to you and you're like, why did I get triggered? What is it about that? You need to really ask that question, because
Absolutely.
there is something attached to that that you need to look at, right?
Yeah, it's just giving you that opportunity to notice it and say, like, what's begging me to look at it within myself.
It's absolutely important. And with these past life regressions, they're not just giving you that information, that knowledge, but the healing is happening. So layers are getting peeled away at the same time. Because honestly, whether you're doing an Akashic record reading or a QHHT session or any of those sessions, there's healing happening, because that's really the most important. And most of us resist healing. Most people are like, I don't really want to look at that. I don't really want to know what that, but honestly, that's what we're here to do. So what do you tell clients that are a little afraid to step into that healing process? Because I'm sure you get that as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I always just tell people, especially when we're working with QHHT and really any of the modalities, the energy that we're working with, the energy of your higher self, the divine part of you only wants you to move forward, only wants what's best for you. So it will never give you anything that you can't handle. It will never give you anything that is meant to be detrimental. Like everything is meant to just move you forward. And even if it feels difficult, right? I always say the truth can be uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that it's not what you need to hear, are meant to hear in this moment. It's all about how you choose to move through it. And so it's really a very loving energy. And I would say most people, at least that I encounter, are really ready for some change. But I can say from personal experience, when I had my first QHHT session, there was definitely a battle going on between my conscious mind and my higher self. And my higher self was like, well, it can be healed if she wants to let it go. And my conscious mind was like, let it go. Absolutely not. And I could feel it. I felt like a crazy person. It was really like a very much back and forth of like, is this time for it to be healed? Will she let it go? Does she want to let it go? It was a lot. So yes, there can definitely be this resistance because it's become so familiar to you. It's for whatever reason that you're holding on to it, you feel some sort of comfort in it, whether it's because it's familiar and you know what to expect, right? Knowing how to move through it and how to live with it might be easier than living with something that you're unfamiliar with. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons that people hold on to wounds or don't want to heal. But I think more and more of us are really kind of coming into this space where it's almost feeling like people are really fed up with living in this cycle, and really tired of not feeling well, being ill, having these blockages, and really wanting to move past them and being ready to do that.
Well, and I think that's a good thing. Your statements are correct. We get comfortable with our current reality. We understand what I would call the devil in the corner. We know what we're dealing with. We know how to navigate it. We know how to work through it. Something new, there's some fear there. What will that look like? What will that be like? And really, if you're coming to anyone and doing this work, understand there's work to be done to move through it. But if you can move through it and get through it, life can be so much better on the other side. So you talk about how emotions in our body can cause illness and disease. Share a little bit more about that from your perspective.
Yeah, so doing QHHT and quantum healing and even past life regression, all the things that are going on with our body are our body trying to communicate to us. It's trying to get our attention, it's trying to send us a message. And 90% of those messages are the same. So, heart disease means one thing, diabetes means another. A pain in your right knee means something different than a pain in your left shoulder. But once we understand what these messages are, what the body is trying to tell us, and most of the time it's very straightforward. It's not very cryptic, It's like if you have like problems with your blood flow, what does your blood mean? Your blood is your life, right? That's how it brings life throughout the body. So where are you constricting or restricting the flow of your life? And it's really about those very simple to understand messages, but we just don't really think about it. We don't understand what the body is trying to tell us. So it gets louder and louder and louder. And it's often because of emotion. So something happened to you, it hurt your heart. So now you don't let the love flow, and it's that resentment or anger or distrust that you're carrying that is constricting the flow in your heart. And so it's about uncovering that so that you can understand it, release it. And I always kind of say it's like turning off the fire alarm. So the body is blaring this alarm at you. There's this problem, problem, problem. Once you understand what the message is, you can turn the alarm off. It doesn't have to keep sending you the message if you've already received the message. That doesn't mean and there are things you might have to do. Like I said, sometimes the truth can be uncomfortable. And like you said, there is work to be done, but it doesn't have to be difficult. These modalities, at least in my experience, make things much easier for people to move through. There's really a gentleness to it. And if you need to be kind of hit on the head, then you will be. But but most of the time, it's really a very gentle and supportive type of shifting and transition.
And it's important, right? I believe the universe is trying to make it easy for us now, because that's really the point, is to shed some of this stuff so that it's easy. I know you've had some new things coming in since you've signed up for the podcast. Share with us some of the new exciting things that you have showing up for us, and then share how people can connect with you if they would like to do a session.
Absolutely. So since I signed up for the podcast, I have been developing my own skills and abilities when it comes to channeling. So I have been connecting with my high level guide, whose name is Orion. And I've been able to bring him through me, and he delivers messages. He does healing, performs healing for people. We've even been able to connect with loved ones that have passed, and I have never considered myself to be a medium or anything like that. But it's just the more that, the more people that I sit with and the more that it kind of unfolds, it just keeps unfolding. And it honestly, it still blows my mind the things that he's able to do through me. It's really quite beautiful. Really awesome experiences for people on the receiving end, and often, oh my gosh, awesome experiences for myself as well. Just being able to hold that space and be in that space with people is really very beautiful.
I love that.
So
I love that. I love that.
yeah, it's just been a wild ride. A wild ride. And it all started for me with that surgery, but then even with QHHT, really, that was the catalyst to kind of facilitate me going within and looking within for answers. And that was probably the biggest turning point, was after my first QHHT session.
It's really awesome. What people don't realize is when you work in past lives, you learn so much. Like
Oh,
fears of death and dying go away because you're very aware of what's going to happen. You get information from, a galactic perspective, a global perspective. You see the patterns, and as a reader or facilitator, you really gain lots of insight by doing sessions with people because you're learning right along with them sometimes. And that's what makes it really powerful.
yes.
Tara, we'll have your website at the bottom of this, but share with us if people wanted to connect, to do in person or virtual, what are some of the things that you offer?
Absolutely. So yes, so in person, I offer QHHT. So I have people from North Carolina, South Carolina, even Georgia and Tennessee come see me. I'm right outside Greenville, South Carolina. And for online virtual sessions, I do past life regression, quantum healing, something called Soul Speak, where it really does, again, teach you to go within and start to have these conversations with your body to uncover why you're feeling aches, pains, experiencing illness, anything like that. And then I also offer the channeling with Orion sessions virtually, which are probably one of my favorite things to do.
Well, it's new, right? Why wouldn't it be? All these
Yeah.
new things. Because
Yeah.
as we step into these spaces, I think all of us grow, evolve, expand, all of that stuff. So, years ago, a person would have one tool in the toolbox and that's all they would work with. And today, sometimes it's hard to describe what we do because we have lots of tools. And when you tell people all the tools that you have, they're like, well, which one should I do? It's hard, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it makes it even a little bit harder to explain. But like many of us, we have tons and tons of tools in our mailbox, in our toolbox. So
Yes.
thank you so much for being on the show. How fun was this?
It was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and the space is beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate you being on. Please come back and join us again. We'd love to have more information on your channeling. I'm sure that's going to develop over time as well. And what
Absolutely.
messages you receive. I love when we have high-end guides or people channeling galactic. It's always interesting to hear the perspectives because they're really more expanded than what we get. So it's always so awesome to hear what they have to tell us. And I'm sure you're getting some of that as well.
Yes, definitely. It blows my mind all the time.
It is. It's pretty awesome. Well, thank
Yes.
you for being on the show. Come back and see us. And those that are watching, I hope you'll like, comment, and follow us on your favorite channels. We do appreciate you taking the time to listen and follow us. And I hope that you have a sacred and magical week and that we'll see you next time on one of our shows. So have a great day.